I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and welcome to the recap from the April 2022 ChemKnits Dye-Along live stream, where we dyed yarn inspired by peacock feathers. I actually picked two photos because the iridescence of peacocks gives a gorgeous color palette, and neither one of the photos evoked all the colors I really wanted to draw from for this project. For this day along, we actually had two different live streams, one at the very end of April and one at the beginning of May, because I wasn't done and I wanted to play around with these colors some more. But first, let's take a look at the yarn we dyed in our first live stream. This yarn right here is some Knit Picks Swish DK, which is 100% superwash merino. I did some lowish immersion techniques hand painting with dry dye powders using primarily five different Dharma acid dyes in peacock blue, chartreuse, teal green, bright aqua, and electric violet, where I let that peacock and teal be the dominant colors on here, and the chartreuse, aqua, and violet were lighter players. Now, when I'm dyeing with dry dye powder, you can get some really dramatic colors, but depending on the amount of acid and how crowded the pan is, you also get some pastels here, which I'm not mad at all. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, I want more color to keep it sort of even, but there are different depths of saturation in these peacock feathers, so I knew that this may happen and it didn't bother me. I did realize that I could have dyed the yarn first before layering on these colors, so that way the pastel regions, which are definitely not white, this has got some like pale blue and purple to it, but that way if I dyed it first, then I would have known the pastel regions could have started at a more medium blue, and then I could have layered things on top of it. But I wasn't sure if I started with a base color what that would do for the greens and the purples that I had there. Would it make this more lime green to blue and also make the purples too blue? So that was one thing I wasn't sure about. I had a yarn mop from each of the different live streams where I like to have a skein of yarn that has been soaked in water and acid usually to that way wipe the dye powder off of my gloves onto. And here you can see more of the colors separately. You can see the more brightness of that chartreuse green and of the bright aqua compared to the way the colors blended as we layered them together. Of course, I intentionally took the chartreuse and added bright aqua on top of it to make it a little bit less yellow, but maybe leave some yellow hints in there. So that was a goal of mine. I have started doing more of these dye-alongs during the daytime where I live, and I'm in the Eastern time zone in the US. So if you don't want to miss any of them, please make sure you're subscribed and turn on notifications. And if you're at work or asleep when I go live, you can always go and watch the replay to see exactly how I created the yarn. When I was doing this first version, I had some more yarn pre-soaking, but I ended up not having time during the live stream to get to a second colorway. And so I did another stream because I really wanted to play with that other color. I thought that dyeing a silk blend would help with that iridescent kind of feel that you get from peacock feathers. So I picked some Knit Picks Gloss Fingering Weight yarn, which is 70% merino wool, 30% silk. It's a yarn base I really love, and I thought that a little bit of that sheen would just hit the inspiration photo really nicely. This time I decided to do a very similar technique, but I started off with dip dyeing the yarn into some chartreuse and then into bright aqua. I weighed out 1.15 grams of chartreuse and then a similar amount of bright aqua, dissolved it in water, and then I used all of the chartreuse and a bit of the bright aqua to create a base layer of color. So that way, as we dyed over it, you can see some of those original colors peeking through. Sort of. You see a lot of greens peeking through. I think I used a little bit too much chartreuse, so then when I used the bright aqua, we didn't really feel the aqua teal kind of color. It just turned our chartreuse more into a true green. But I leaned into it and then layered on dry powders in teal green, a little bit of electric violet, peacock blue, but then I grabbed some extreme blue because I wanted not everything to feel so teal. The peacock blue was beautiful, but didn't really overcome the green base I had a bit. And I think that some of the extreme blue worked. But I'm so happy that we have these greens and purples on this predominantly teal colorway. I absolutely love it. This time our yarn mop really just pulled from the colors I was using with the dry powders. So the peacock extreme blue, teal green, and electric violet. And you can kind of feel what some of these colors look like on their own compared to the way that the colors blended on our silk blend. Even though the silk blend ended up being a lot greener and a lot less blue than I think what I was originally going for, I feel the peacock vibes here and I really, really like it. I need to remember to dye yarn a base color before hand painting with dry powders more in the future. I love the way that the green is peeking through in some areas. Just where like the coverage is a little lighter there and maybe also a little bit over here, you can see that base color coming through and that's just so pretty. The second live stream did not end here. I had some bright aqua left over that I did not use on our silk yarn, and I had a jar that was collecting leftovers for a pretty long time. By long time, I just mean like that week of dyeing yarn, but it was filled with leftovers from a number of different videos, and so it's a mixture that I would not be able to reproduce. But I feel like it was probably mostly Cabernet, but I don't remember. There were a lot of colors in there. And so I dip dyed 200 grams of Knit Picks Swish DK into, I think, the random mixture first, and it gave us a beautiful muted dusty purple, and it struck pretty quickly. It was really nice. And then I was torn because I loved that soft neutral purple so much, and I let chat decide which direction to take the yarn, and chat thought I should dip the other end into the bright aqua, and I'm glad I did, because combining these colors, which it does look a little bit gray on camera, but there definitely is some red that you can feel in there. It gives sort of like this bright to more muted kind of thing, but the overall color feels reasonably consistent. But actually now I'm curious. I guess if I change things to black and white, the dusty color is maybe a little bit more saturated. Of course, it depends on the way that you set up a grayscale, but yeah, it still has a nice even temperament to it. There are some deep points and random speckles on here that mainly came from that random mixture that we had, and I still think that, you know, it might add a little fun pop to the yarn, or honestly, it's something that maybe not the speckles, but those other deep patches could be cut out of the skein. But anyway, I really like how these two colors came together, and it's a bummer that I don't know the combination that I used, and one of the bummers of leave no dye behinds. But anyway, if you want to see me play around more with mystery colors and mystery mixes, I do have a whole leave no dye behind playlist, and you should let me know down in the comments below. Now it is time to take a look at the yarn that you dyed inspired by this same peacock photo. And when I say to dye along inspired by the photo, you are welcome to pull colors from the picture, from one part of the picture, or from what the picture represents. So you could look at it and do, I'm going to do peacock, how peacock means to me, and that is totally cool as well. I love seeing how one image can spark a lot of variety and sometimes similarities of color creativity as it translates onto yarn. If you would like to be featured in future ChemKnits Dye Along recaps, just share the yarn that you dyed inspired by the inspiration photo on Instagram with the hashtag ChemKnits Dye Along, or share the yarn on, or reply to the inspiration photo on the ChemKnits Facebook page with pictures of your projects, and I'll pull as many as I can to include in the recap. I prefer it if you share multiple individual photos versus collages. It's a little bit easier for me to incorporate into the video, but I love seeing what you've made, and the projects. Sometimes y'all finish projects with the yarn you dyed before I finish editing the recap, and so that's also amazing and incredible. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and if you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, turn on notifications so you never miss a new stream. In addition to the monthly dye-alongs, sometimes I have random Let's Dye Yarn days, and I also do unboxings and other types of streaming content, and sometimes they're planned fairly last minute, so the best way to make sure you know if I'm live is to have those notifications on. If you love the yarn I dye, go and check out the ChemKnits Creations. If you love the yarn I dye, go and check out the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop. The shop is filled with ready-to-ship yarn featured in my videos, and there are also some ways that you can get a little bit of sneak peeks of what may be coming, and also sometimes I have some fun mystery sets or samplers, and it's just all so much fun. I really enjoy creating fun little surprises to put in the shop, and so I hope you enjoy that as well. And now, I still don't know what I'm going to pick for May's inspiration photo. I did briefly consider doing like an April-May combo, but I still think I want to try to have a May picture and color and theme. And conceivably, the June could become a June-July combo, just based on how my summer is going to be playing out. But we will see as we come to that. I think you all know, well, I don't know the picture yet, but I think you all can predict a little bit of the theme that's going to be coming in June. But anyway, thank you so much for watching.